All right, so you got a new NBA champion last night. You got the Yankees winning again. So they've won 3 out of 4 out of the All-Star break, so that's a start. And how they're winning and who is contributing is a big part of what's going on there. The Mets are throwing out slop after slop. I mean, Robert Stock pulls a me as he's busting it out of the box. He pulls his hamstring.
And he was running hard.
Yeah, he was. I mean, good for him. But at the same time, it's like, all right, you pulled your hamstring. But so Nagosic has to come in, and then the other Diaz, and then Hartlieb. And it's just a mess what they're throwing out there. And Marcus Stroman really has to bear down and give the Mets some innings today. And they still almost win that game against Cincinnati, as it's a close one, only losing by a run. But, I mean, I talked about this with Boomer yesterday with the Yankees, and it's amazing to me when there is an influx of energy into the lineup, how they're a totally different team. Whether it's Greg Allen or Florial last night with the home run, the speed, the energy, the want to. There is a staleness about the Yankees when they are healthy, and then when they need to dip into the minor league system or Brian Cashman has to pick off another roster somewhere and put them in the Yankee uniform like 2019, they're different. They're more fun. They're more energetic, and they actually play a brand of baseball that is more aesthetically pleasing to the viewer as opposed to home. When they hit some home runs last night. Sanchez and Stanton and Florial and Gardner had that little pop-up that turned into a home run. So they hit some home runs, but it still looked different and it felt different.
Well, it was different, and it felt different because it was. And yes, they hit home runs, but instead of waiting for the home runs, they made things happen. You know, talking to Al this morning between 5 and 6 like we were, you know, you look at what Greg Allen has provided to this team. You know, he gets on base. You're just waiting for him to take second. You know, they had a hit and run the other day, and even Sterling was calling for it. And he's like, you know, with Greg Allen at first base, this is a perfect opportunity. Hit and run. Next pitch, hit and run. Ball through the hole and right. Allen goes first to third, and you got something going. You know, last night he draws the walk. He steals second, and a great slide to the back part, right side of the base. Otherwise, he's probably out. Realmuto would have gotten him. Instead, he's safe. He, you know, heads up play on a fly. How many times, you know, fly ball to right, you're tagging up for sure. Fly ball to left center is dicey. He takes third. He tags up. There was no hesitation. And then while he might have been out when Didi catches the line drive, he comes home on the wild throw. And you look at that inning right there, and you're like, wow, he just generated a run with his good at bat and his legs and his heads up style of baseball. He's got the triple in the first inning. It's all the way to third. That's fine. How does he get home? Florial
RBI
pulls the ball to the right side, a productive out. So, yes, they hit home runs, but really prior to the home run barrage, if you will, they were making things happen on the bases. And it's fun to watch. It's all of a sudden not, all right, guy walks, he's going to stand there and wait for the 2-run homer. Like, it was different. And, you know, to me, fun to watch. And you're right, an infusion of life into a lineup that really needed it. And the Sanchez home run. I mean, that's it. That is Gary Sanchez in a nutshell. Why, when someone says trade Gary Sanchez, and whether it's another Yankee fan or someone inside the Yankees is like, oh, boy, can he hit the Mike, he crushed that thing last night.
Yeah, that's the play that they'll pull up. Brian Cashman will pull up on his phone.
Oh, how could you not?
And say this is why he's still in the uniform. And I'm glad you brought up that RBI grounder because it's such a little thing, but I was thinking the same thing. And also Florial's reaction once he got Allen home. He was fired up.
Yeah.
You know, he's going back to the dugout clapping with his RBI ground out because it was a productive out.
Sure was.
And they don't do that stuff, or they haven't done that stuff nearly enough in this season. So you don't want to go nuts and get ahead of yourself and say, oh, the Yankees are now going to go on some sort of run. The series coming up again with the Red Sox is going to tell a lot, and we'll see if they can continue to beat a team that they are chasing and still significantly far behind. But, I mean, this is the stuff you wanted to see, and you're getting it in a small dose, and we'll find out if they're capable of making that a larger dose, and then maybe making the second half of the season something other than an utter disappointment, which this entire season has been to this point.
No question. And then the other part of the game last night, I guess you would say, would be Chapman in the ninth inning as they try to rebuild his confidence.
Still gave up a bomb, but
he did. And so another thing we discussed, it was weird. Like, he looked terrible against Bryce Harper. First 3 pitches were awful. And then all of a sudden he worked his way back and he gets the strikeout. And then he gives up the monster home run. And what I found interesting, and this is what I think even Kay and Cone were talking about, was confidence. Because when he starts the at-bat with Harper, his fastball's topping out at 98. Well, when he finishes the game, he's at 102, 103.
Yeah.
So as he kind of continued to pitch, he looked more and more like himself, which I found interesting. And he made Rhys Hoskins look silly. But I thought the at-bat to Harper, you're sitting there watching like, geez, 2-0. Then he almost hits Harper in the face to go 3-0. And then he worked his way back, and he did a nice job. So if they can get the Aroldis Chapman, even if it takes a little time here, to be back to where he was in April and May, look out, because now you've got something again.
Yeah, and the velocity for him is always something that is an indicator of where he's at, either mentally or physically. It's an indicator for a lot of pitchers, but even more so with Aroldis Chapman. Anytime it's crazy to say, but anytime he's even below 100 at all, 98, 99, you think there's something wrong with the guy.
Well, that was the first thing I thought of. I'm like, he comes out of the bullpen. You got to feel like he's fired up, and his fastballs are at 98. I'm like, oh, that's not him. And then you could see it build, and then he went to 100. Then I went to 101. You said 102. Like, okay, this looks more like and the slider looks fantastic. What he struck out Harper on, disgusting. What a nice pitch.
Yeah, so we'll see. We'll see if this turns into something. It would be great, quite frankly. It really would be, because if you could get both the Mets and the Yankees in the postseason at the same time, it would be tremendous around here. We'd have some life heading into footballs, into the big meat part of the football season. It would be great for us. And the Mets, I don't know where the Mets are going to end up. I think the fact that the division is what it is, they've had some injuries that have helped him out in that division, of course, with the Atlanta Braves being the biggest with Acuna. But I don't know really what they are and who they are. Now, some good news, again, as we go around this Jacob deGrom's not hurt, but he's not hurt carousel. I don't know what the F to even think anymore, but it's good that I hear Zach Scott say that it's nothing serious. But what are we doing? I don't understand. But as long as he pitches, and he pitches in the big moments and the big games that the Mets are going to be playing in at the end of the season and hopefully in the postseason, then that's great. But I look at the Mets as a team that's they're hanging on by a thread. They're somehow skating by. One, because the division stinks. Two, they've had just injuries all over the place and this slop that they're sending out there. And no offense to these guys, but when every one of your pitchers has a number over 80, you're like, something is wrong.
Yeah.
This is not the way it's supposed to be. So I'm a little bit concerned about where they're going. And I think that I said fool's gold yesterday, which might not be totally fair to them, but
I think it is fair.
Yeah.
I think I've said it all season long. They're a mediocre to above average baseball team. I don't think they're this great. They're not. They are what they are. They're 5-6 games over 500 with last night's loss now. They really haven't sustained any big run that I can think of that really separates themselves from the bunch. They've gotten up as high as 5-6 games, but then it always seems to come right back down to where we are now at around 2. Jose Peraza is now injured. I see he's got something with his finger. They've had issues keeping DeGrom out there. You've had injuries. You haven't even seen Carrasco, though I think we'll see him this weekend, although he wasn't great last night pitching in Trenton. But if he's healthy, so be it. They're just, I don't know. They're okay. Now, what's interesting about them is if okay is good enough to get them into the playoffs and DeGrom's healthy and Stroman's healthy and Taijuan Walker's healthy, love their chances. Love their chances. But they got to get there. And, the division's not great, but at some point you got to be worried someone's going to catch fire. And if it's not them, one of these other 3 teams will. I do believe that.
Yeah, just quickly on the NBA Finals last night, because people will be talking about it. I'm sure some people in the audience are interested. But if I'm a Bucks fan, I'm thrilled that my team won a championship. I'll remember it for the rest of my life.
Sure.
If I'm one of the 40 to 60,000, whatever number they had at that Deer Pack or whatever the hell they call it outside
the Deer District.
The Deer District. I'm remembering this and I'm having a great time. But I'm not one of those people. I'm somebody who lives in New York, who is having a Long Island summer, who looked at the NBA Finals as a farce because every good player got hurt, and it opened up the door for Giannis to capture a championship. And good for him. He'll have it forever. But sometimes there are like these outlier teams that are good, and they'll bop into the NBA history, and they'll take a championship like the Pistons in the early 2000s that played great defense and like came in there, the Rip Hamilton, Rasheed Wallace, Chauncey Billups Pistons, they'll grab a championship. You'll have and they have a little bit of a run there. You'll have the Dallas Mavericks who beat the Miami Heat the first time that they got together, and then they never saw the light of day again. You have the Raptors with Kawhi that one year, and they bopped in and stole a championship. And the Bucks are going to be that team. If the star players in the NBA, meaning Anthony Davis and LeBron and Kawhi and all the guys in the West had stayed healthy, they wouldn't have won. If the Brooklyn Nets had stayed healthy, they wouldn't have won. I could even make a case that if Trae Young had stayed healthy, they wouldn't have won. That's just, to me, the way I feel about it. It's of course, it's a championship is a championship, but I think because of the bubble, the short season, the injuries that led up to it, it created a situation for the Bucks to win a championship in this particular year where they would have never done it in any regular season.
Maybe, but you know what? They have it. You're not giving it back, and all credit to them because they did stay healthy. Whereas other teams had problems with it, no more than the Nets, as we know, the Lakers too. They are the NBA champions, like it or not. That's what it is, and I do think why I like the references you used. I think they're going to be good. I don't know if they're going to another title. They're going to be good for a while, though, as long as he's there and they can bring pieces around him. What he did last night. Say what you want about everything else and the path they had to get there. 50 points, 14 rebounds, 5 block shots. He hits almost all his free throws. They were trail, right? They were down by 4 or 5 at halftime. It wasn't like this was an easy win. They didn't blow out Phoenix. And I think they beat a really good team in the finals. Yes, they were helped along the way. There's no doubt. Phoenix was really a damn good team this year, and they just beat them in 4 straight.
Yeah.
So I get what you're saying, but at the end of the day, good for them. Giannis is thrilled, as he says he's a freaking champion. Never going to take it away from him. And that's it. There you go. NBA season. Complete. Yeah. Disappointing, certainly for us, but good for them.
Yeah, I think the most impressive thing is he struggled with his free throws mightily, and then in a closeout game, he hits, 17 at the line? That's
17 and 19, I think.
So that's impressive.
Look, you're a Knicks fan. You haven't won in almost as long as the Bucks, essentially.
Yeah.
If the Knicks signed a guy to a 1-year, I don't know. I'm just throwing out a name for namesake. If the Knicks signed a superstar on a 1-year deal next year, went out, won 56 games, and won a title, and then the guy was gone the next year, you giving it back?
No, of course
not. You're going to celebrate the hell out of it.
That's why I said if I was a Bucks fan, this would be one of the great moments ever. But since I'm not, I look at this NBA season like, God, thank God it's over. We can get into the off-season, see what happens with the Knicks. And if you're Chris Paul, you're like, it's just never going to happen for me.
You have to feel that way.
It's just never going to happen.
This was it. This was the year.
You're up 2-0 in the NBA Finals against the Milwaukee Bucks.
Yeah.
It's not going to be that easy next time around.
No doubt. I was worried, though. All those clips I was playing yesterday, Devin Booker, Monty Williams. Well, we've never seen it. We've never been in this spot. But, guys, stop.
Yeah, I know.
Just talk about going out and win the game. And instead, it was almost like they were laying the foundation for the excuses before they took the floor. I didn't like that yesterday.
Yeah, it did sound like a defeatist attitude heading into a closeout game.
Thank you for watching. Please like, comment, and subscribe. And don't forget to hit the red bell so you're notified when we have new content.